So now a question. What should be the ideal documentation structure for a quality management system of an organization as per ISO 9001, 2015? The answer is it could be anything that meets the standard requirement and it is flexible. What it really means? The organization is free to decide their documentation structure. There is no recommendation, no suggestions, or no requirement that you have to have a manual and you have to have mandatory procedures the way 2008 version needed control of document, control of records, control of non-conforming products, internal audit, corrective actions and preventive actions, and any other procedure that the standard requires. Even those things have been removed. So is it not going to look like a very vague structure? It is made flexible for the organization to decide what suits them. But what is the focus is the records and the documented information that is required to be maintained and retained must be there if they are applicable. For example, design may not be applicable for some organization. So in that case, design related records or documented informations, which could be detailed input for planning, documented information with the inputs for design, output from design process, results of review, verification, validation activities need not be there, or maybe design changes. These are not applicable. But if they're applicable, they have to be maintained or retained. You can simply continue your manual, your procedures, and your documented information that you have used for ageless time. You need not discontinue any of them. But the focus is to go on process approach. An additional requirement to identify the risks you have to address and bring in risk control measures to keep the processes under control, to make sure the product does not suffer from the risks with regard to quality, with anything that can affect the product quality and the quality of service. So now, as per the new standard, you can simply have a master list of documents showing all the mandatory documented information that is required. You can identify any procedure or documented information the organization decides to develop. And that's it. Now, I would suggest that you have a simple process. And now, why is it made like this? The reason is the technology will define the extent of documentation needed by an organization. Competence of the people working in an organization will define the level of documentation they might need. There are many other reasons to have a documentation. For example, in an organization small and people are working for a long time, everything is known to everyone and it's like a standard practice. You don't possibly need a procedure. But imagine an organization where daily some new people are coming and changing. People are constantly changing in an organization. Some new people are coming, old folks are going. There is a continuous flow of people for different projects, different sites. In that case, what is going to happen is that there will be confusion. There may be confusion. There may be a lot of disruptions. People do not know how things are done here, or with lack of procedure, without any instructions, people might start doing things in a different way. The process might change, resulting in quality of the product, consistency of the product and services. So when people keeps changing, you need a more structured set of documentation. Otherwise, there will be variation in the processes. The processes will not have adequate control. The processes will have variations, and with more and more variations, the product quality will also vary. And at some point, they can go beyond upper critical limit or below lower critical limit. So they can go out of spec. You may find a non-conformity in the products and services. Customer might become unhappy. One more point I would like to highlight is the extent of documentation also would depend on the competence of the people working in an organization. If more competent people are working, more knowledgeable and competence based, the job is more competence based, you might have to rely more on the competence of the people, less reliance on the procedure. So competence of the people is one of the strongest determinant for the extent of documented information that an organization might need. One more thing is extremely important: technological sophistication. Some organizations use ERP, enterprise resource planning software, for example, Oracle system, for example, SAP, or a lot of open ERP systems are in place today. Things are systematized, things are done through application of a software. Most of the information and documentation, the flow of information happens within the system. In that case, procedure will not add any value, rather it will create more burden. Therefore, many such factors, which is depending on uniqueness of an individual organization, they will decide what is best suited for them. But the standard still needs all the mandatory documented informations to be either maintained or retained as the standard needs. Therefore, depending on those factors, you have to decide the optimum level of your documentation that is unique for your organization. Now, let me explain the documentation structure TCB follows. We are an ISO 9001 certified organization, and we have been following this since 1994 standard. So we had many procedures, and we also needed many procedures because we follow different standards, and some standards need procedures for performance of the task. For example, ISO 17020, which is an accreditation standard for accreditation of inspection bodies. So our system is integrated. It includes many management systems. So considering that, we have identified for the moment, let me keep other standard aside. Let us focus on ISO 9001 2015. One of the important information that I would like to share, even in ISO 17020 standard, it says that you can have your system based on ISO 9001 with additional requirement that the standard 17020 requires. So 9001 is quite a versatile standard. So what we have manual, we have core operating procedures which were mandatory by ISO 9001 standard in earlier version and still valid for 17020 and other standards. We have developed some procedures we call standard operating procedures. We also have inspection attributes, which are basically minimum requirement for TCB to perform inspection and certification of a product. We have forms and formats for different activities. We also have work instructions, which are small snippets that are given at the working level so that you're going to handy reference what has to be done. We call them work instructions. So this is our structure. I will show you now what is the structure of TCB quality management system documentation. See, this is our master list of documented information. Let me enlarge it a little bit. So here we have, this was updated on 28/9/2020, and the revision number of this particular document, which is the master list, is revision 8. So let me see whether this is correct. Yes, master list of document MLD 1 is revision 8, which was revised on this date. Now, in this, we have got master list of external documents. Some of the documents we are using for our inspection and other reference. For example, we have got IRCA requirements. We have got ASME and other standards. We have got customer standards and specifications. All those things are part of our document of external origin. These are coming from outside. We are not controlling them. We are only making sure that they are the latest and applicable documents. We have got a management system manual, which is revision 4. So as we open the document, And I will show, and you can also see whether our quality manual is indeed revision 4 or not. If it is, great. If it is not, we can raise the non-conformity that, yeah, your master list shows it is revision 4 and your manual is revision 3 or revision 5. So this list is not updated or the manual is not updated. And then we had the core operating procedure. This we continued from the previous standard, 2008 version of ISO 9001. We are still continuing with those systems because we find they're very useful. We are going to remove preventive action because preventive action has been withdrawn with the introduction of risk-based thinking, but some of the other standard that we follow for our other activities, this is still a requirement, so we'll have to keep them till such time those standards are updated. So then we have got few additional procedures which we identify, which we call standard operating procedure for TCB. These are unique procedure which is used by TCB or unique documented information which is unique for us. We follow them for consistency of our work, and they're also date of their effective implementation, and also the revision status is given. Then we have got various forms and formats that we are using. This also will have revision status to make sure we are using the correct forms and formats. And then we have got for example, management system forms, which are common form, accounts, cranes, inspections, environmental management system, HR management system, training needs identification, inspection forms and formats. So all our activities, TCB inspection attributes, these are the minimum requirement for us to ensure those items are verified, those attributes are verified in any product before we certify it, regardless of what customer requires. These are our minimum requirements for certification of any product. So we have identified with the revision status. And these are then, we have got inspection procedures like mandatory documented information as required by 17,020 standard, because our quality management system is following several standards. So some of them are coming from ISO 9001, some of them are coming from other standards. So these are mandatory requirement from other standards, 17,020 standard, for example. So like this, we have identified all the documented information. Now, if we have this, that's good enough. Now, you may ask that you have a manual. Can I have a look at the manual? Let's have a look at it. So here is our quality manual. Have a look at it. It is a quality manual, QM ISO 17020-2012. That is the latest edition. And it is revision number 4. Now, this also meets the requirement of ISO 9001-2015 standard. So this is how we have approved, we have maintained the revision history of the manual, and this outlines how we perform various tasks in our organization. So as I said, ISO 9001 does not require a definitive structure. It needed a manual. So this manual also meets the requirement of 9001. At the same time, additional procedures we have identified. All right. So this is how our system works. So in this, we have outlined all activities, how things are done. This manual is kind of a Bible for us. We follow this, and this is used throughout the organization and even by our affiliates who is, kind of working with us as our extended arms in different countries. Let me show something else. Now, for example, if you are looking at, can you show me that you have, this is your master list of document, and you have various procedures, all right? Various procedures, for example, you have got control of document, control of documents, which is basically control of documented information. For this, there used to be a requirement, there was a requirement for having a procedure for control of documented information. In the new standard, as we said, it's not there. But then, since we have it, we have to demonstrate that we are following this. So control of document is revision number 2. This is the document identification number. So let me see what is the documented information revision status for us. So we have got the COPs, which is the core operating procedure. So control of documented information. Now let me see, I think we have an issue here. Control of documented information is revision 3 as per actual documentation, which was revised on this date. But in the master list of document, it is showing revision 2. So there is a mismatch. So you can say, looks like your master list of document revision status is old. Yes. So you can raise it as a non-conformity. And what is the action we are going to take? We will revise this we'll revise this master list with the latest version of each of the procedure, not only one, not only control of document. We have to check all the procedures, all the manual and everything, and then update the list. And that is how we will address this. So you imagine whether those procedures were latest and current, you can only know from the master list. You know there is a later document. Revision 2 is now obsolete. Now, if we go to the obsolete document, you will definitely find we keep the control of document revised copy. It was there. It was revised. This document existed at some point of time, but we keep all superseded document, expired document in an identified folder, which is identified with a name that obsolete. So by mistake also, we will not use those, we'll use the current procedure. Now, the problem with this situation where this is a non-conformity, the master list has not been updated. So this is the non-conformity. I hope the example and real life example that I gave was useful and you understood how in real life control of documented information are audited and the structure of documented information as needed by ISO 9001 2015 standard and how it is audited.